Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Redeemed Marriage Podcast. Rusty and Heather Bryant are here with you again, and we're super excited to spend a few minutes with you talking about marriage and all the things, except we're not going to talk all the things today, because if we talked all the things about marriage, we'd be here for a really long time. So we're just going to pick one thing. And in fact, we're picking one question.
Yes.
So last week, did a little question and answer kind of a thing, but we answered lots of the same questions and lumped it all.
Like a bunch of people had asked that one question.
A bunch of people asked about boundaries.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys got a chance to go back and listen to that. We talked in a lot of detail about boundaries and the boundaries that we have in place and some suggestions for you in your marriage. And so we decided to go in and pull up another question from our Ask Anything. We've had some conferences and some speaking events that we've been to recently, and also our mentoring group, where they have submitted some questions through our little QR code that says Ask Anything. And people will ask anything. We had some really funny ones at our last, one of our most recent speaking engagements. One of them was at a Valentine's event. And somebody said, "What do I do if my spouse has not bought me a Valentine's present yet?" And then it said, "Please say my name out loud."
I'm glad we didn't see that one until after the conference.
Yeah, we missed it, but it was funny. So if you're listening to this,
would have been too happy with that.
Probably not, but it was funny.
Yep.
But one of the questions that we got that night, I believe, was specifically addressed to you, Heather. So I'll ask the question, and then I'm going to leave and just let you talk.
No, please don't leave me. If y'all hadn't figured it out yet, Rusty is the bread and butter behind this ministry. I could get a little emotional talking about it because he just has such a heart for marriages and for God to honor marriages. And, not too long ago, we wrapped up our 28-day prayer challenge for marriages. And we prayed for over 450 marriages. And when I tell you this man prayed for every single one of them by name and by need. And he would just walk every morning and cry out to God on your behalf and for the need that you put before us. And what's crazy is he would come home and tell me when I would get home from work and we would have our time to talk, and he would say, "I was praying for the need of this couple that they said, and God just really changed my heart and was like, no, you need to pray for this." And so it wasn't just, oh, let me read this prayer request and say, okay, God, you hear it. It was really going to battle for you guys. And I wasn't that committed to that, but he literally read every single one more than once and prayed for it. So if you were on our list, you know that Rusty went to battle for you guys during the month of February. And I'm just so honored to get to walk alongside you as you lead this ministry well. When you throw out a topic that you're like, oh, people want to hear from you on this, I'm like, ugh, because you do such a great job leading and seeing a vision for what God is calling us to in the Redeemed Marriage. Because, we never set out to do this ministry. Like, that wasn't the goal. But it was just obediently taking one step at a time and realizing the need for voices to speak for marriages and for the covenant relationship of marriage, and just to speak into men and women on how to honor God with their marriage. So Rusty and I went out a couple of Friday nights ago, just in our hometown, downtown. We have a fabulous little downtown that everybody just kind of goes and hangs out. And we were outside the little ice cream shop. It's kind of like Mayberry here. We love it. And we were outside the little ice cream shop, and a lady came up and said, that she wanted us to pray for her friend that was having tough time with marriage, and she just started crying. And she was like, I just keep hearing more and more people that are divorcing or are having trauma in their marriage and aren't choosing to fight, to stay together. And it just broke my heart because we hear it all the time. I mean, we just prayed for 450 marriages in the month of February, and so many of those were just desperate cries for help. But just to see people who are brokenhearted, just like we are, for marriages and what the enemy is wanting to destroy, and for us to just stand firm and talk about the hard topics. And so I just pray that as we continue this episode and as you listen to other episodes, that you will just know that that we listen to the Lord and try so desperately to honor Him with all the decisions we make with this ministry, and that Rusty is by far the head of this ship, and I'm thankful for you.
Well, thank you for that. I didn't expect that. Maybe that was our topic for the day. No, well, but I want to say this too, because now you maybe we won't even get to our topic. Who knows? But one of the things that I have been listening to a lot recently, and we're kind of preparing for maybe a couple of weeks where we're going to talk about this topic about what it takes to be a godly man, what it takes to be a godly husband, what it takes to be a godly woman, godly wife. And one of the things that just keeps really being driven home to me in multiple sermons and podcasts is this idea that men and women are created very differently. And really, we have different purposes, even behind why God created us. And, you know, if you guys can remember, not that you were there, but you remember Genesis, and Adam was created first. The man was created first. And Eve was created for Adam, not the other way around. Now, this is very much not politically correct in this day and age, but it's biblical, and so we don't have to apologize for what the Bible says. We've just kind of got it all wrong in our world and in our society. But I think when you made the comment and you said Rusty's the one that drives this, or he's, you know, the bread and butter, I don't think that our place in the relationship, the way that we functioned as a biblical marriage, was probably not what it was supposed to be before you confessed to infidelity.
Right.
And I think that what that did for us was it allowed us to restructure our home in a godly and biblical way.
Yeah.
And so what I love about what you're saying, you're coming out and you're saying, well, Rusty's the one in charge, and you know, you didn't say it that way, but
right.
You just said
you lead.
Yeah, he's leading, and I'm just kind of help. But the more I think about that, there's several reasons. Some of it is personality, but I also believe that God wired men that way. Like, our priority is supposed to be our calling. So right. what a man's calling is a priority, and so we're driven by that, and there's this drive to excel and to do things. And again, this goes all the way back to Adam. And so what was Eve created for? Well, Eve was created to keep order in the home. The priority was the home. But then also the priority was to be the helpmate, the helper behind her husband. And I heard a pastor say recently, he said, you know, he's a young pastor, and he said when he got out of seminary, there were all these people around him that were way more talented and gifted speakers and communicators, and just, you know, they had all this, like, they had much more potential than him. But he says the reason why he feels like he has sort of surpassed even his potential and surpassed what he looked at them and thought these guys have it all is because of the wife that he has beside him, and that she is the one that has elevated him to this, you know, this potential, you know, exceeding potential, I guess.
Yeah.
And so, I do think that part of the reason why you shy away a little bit is because you feel topic of today's podcast is actually about shame and guilt. And I don't think that you're like, that's not overriding everything in your life, because you certainly know who you are. But there's this shame and guilt that has sort of placed you back a step where you just kind of go, I'm not worthy, but if you need me and you ask me, then I'm here. And not that I don't know. I don't want to say that that's necessarily right, but I think the placement of our relationship is healthy in that you are looking to me for this calling. So I have two. I mean, I do believe I have two. I guess callings as far as vocational type callings. I have two on my life right now, which is. I mean, I don't know that that's unusual for some people. I mean, most people, they find their one calling and they give it all they have, and then maybe they shift at some point in their life. And I mean, I kind of have two right now, and I feel like I have two full-time jobs, but they're both two callings that I believe are real. And what you have been able to do over the last 15 years is just say, well, I'm going to come alongside you and help you to be the best that you can be. And in that, like, I can't do this without you. And the beautiful thing about it, this is what's so incredible, is that every now and then you get a glimpse of, because sitting in your seat right now, you look and you go, well, the actual business part, and I don't even want to call this it's not a business, but there is structure.
Sure.
I mean, there has to be.
Sure.
We had 450 people sign up for prayer requests.
Organization and
right. And that's my gift and my calling and my strength. And so that's why I'm passionate about it. And you kind of stand over there and you go, well, I can't do this and I'm no good at this. And so I'm just here if I'm needed, that sort of thing. And then we go and we speak somewhere. And this is a true story, by the way. We go speak somewhere, and the lady gets up afterwards, and she said, Heather, I want you to stay up here. Rusty, you can go sit down. And so I left and went and sat down, and then she began to talk about, how powerful your message is and what an incredible inspiration you are. And so just getting those glimpses of, this is us together. We have our strengths and the things that we can help to move this along and to reach more people, because that's all we're doing.
That's right.
Is we're just trying to reach people. And so we each have our gifts, but I do believe that it's because of what happened 15 years ago that just realigned us. And I think you would admit that's not who you were 15 years ago. You wanted, there was biblical leadership from my part, but probably not as strong and in the way it should have been, which I have regrets about that. And looking back, that's where I see some responsibility on my part. But I think that if people really looked inside of our home, they would go, "Oh, she's in charge."
Yeah, I wore the pants.
Yeah, she wears the pants. And here's the thing. I ask you about everything. I mean, it's not like I pull rank on you. And even biblical rank, I don't do that. I do think that there's a time for that, and I've been listening to some of that even in a sermon series. The time for that is that pulling rank is because I'm looking out for your best interest. Right. If I see that there's something that could potentially be harming you, or could potentially you're wearing yourself too thin, and I have to come in and say, we're going to go this direction for you. It's right. Not because I'm above you. And so anyway, I don't know. We got off on this tangent, but the reason why we got off on the tangent is because what we wanted to talk about today was shame and guilt, because that was the question. And I feel like sometimes you take the back seat, or, remove yourself from the spotlight, so to speak, because there's this, I don't deserve this. Like, I'm not worthy of this. And it's, neither one of us desire the spotlight, because of infidelity. Like that's
Right.
like who wants that?
Right.
And you guys that look at us and say, oh well, you have a big podcast, you get to speak places, you have, there is this public figure image in a lot of ways, but like we don't want that. Like we just want a message to get out there, and it's a weird. Yeah. It's a weird thing if people were in our shoes to feel like, because I know there's probably some people that go, oh man, that's really cool that like people know them and they show up on different things and other podcasts and people talk, share their stuff, and we're supposed to be on a magazine in the next, which is weird.
It's so weird.
But when that happens, I'm sure people are thinking something like, well, I don't know. Maybe people don't think that, but I do think people go, oh, they're just trying to enjoy the spotlight or whatever. But can you guys imagine, like our spotlight is that you had an affair?
Yeah,
like that's not a good spotlight. But I do think that it's allowed us to take that spotlight and just shift it over to look what God can do. This is what
the
God
spotlight
can do.
is Jesus.
Yeah,
that's where the spotlight is. And when you were talking about at our latest event, you were talking about our T-shirts, and you're like, the reason why we don't have the redeemed marriage or what our emblem means or anything like that is because the only thing it says is redeemed. Like that's all we want people to see is redeemed. And it doesn't mean just redeemed from infidelity. People wear our T-shirts everywhere. People who haven't had an affair, but it doesn't matter because you're redeemed. And, for some reason, this is coming to my head. Matt Chandler, as many of you know, if you listen to me for a while, know that he's my favorite pastor. And he went through a health scare, a brain tumor.
Hang on, time out. Our pastors, your favorite. We don't need. Let's.
Sorry. I got distracted because our garage band thing came up. Our pastor, Chip Henderson, is my favorite pastor. But I'm talking about the pastors that I listen to, while I'm walking and stuff.
Messing.
Okay, just mess on. Now I'm going to get an email. But anyway. My favorite pastor that I listen to, besides my own church, is Matt Chandler. And he said one time, because he went through that cancer scare, like he had a brain tumor. Right. And they gave him like less than a year. Like months to live. And they went in and did surgery. And he's literally cancer free. It's been like 10 years.
Yeah. And
he's cancer free. But he said one of the funniest things that he heard during that time was people would come up to him and say, aren't you afraid? Like, you may die. And his comment was like, you too.
So are you.
Like, you're going to die too.
Yeah.
And nobody knows when or how. Like, you could be killed in a car wreck and die before I do.
Yeah.
He was saying that.
Yeah.
And what I'm thinking about that is, like, my shirt says redeemed, and I wear it very proudly that I'm redeemed. And if people know my story, they know I'm redeemed because I walked through infidelity and I fell before the Lord and asked for forgiveness, and He redeemed everything that I've done. You too. Like, you don't have to wear the shirt because you were redeemed from infidelity. We're all redeemed. We're all, if you call Jesus as Lord of your life, and not just Savior, big difference between being He's my Savior and He's Lord of my life. And if you call Jesus, like if you have asked Him to be your Savior and He's Lord of your life, you're redeemed too. And so it's not just because I had an affair and fell in love with Jesus and He restored me. It's not that. It is it's not just that. We all fall short of the glory of God, and we are all in need of redemption, no matter what that is. So this person that asked this question, like, they deal with shame and guilt. Like, my heart breaks for them because I know that to be true. I know I've said several times, I want my feet to hit the floor and the enemy to say, crap, she's up. But that's a battle every day. It's literally a battle every day, because what happens is what the enemy says to me is, seriously? I mean, you're trying this again? You're trying to walk? Like, who do you think you are to be talking to? It is almost an everyday occurrence, whether I'm speaking to somebody at school, just asking. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times I've gone up to a coworker and been like, how's your day? And somebody said, oh, I'm having a rough day. And I try to start speaking truth over them. And I hear, who do you think you are speaking over them? They don't want to listen to you. And, these may be people who don't even know about our podcast. I'm just talking about life, the daily life. And climbing up those stairs every day to do marriage coaching, I battle that. Like, here I am struggling in my prayer life right now, really doing some work on who I am and what that looks like. And then I'm going to get on a call and talk to people about how they should be doing life. And when we come up here to do a podcast, and when I'm worshiping in church, like even this morning doing, I'm one of the spiritual counselors at the front of the room. And when our service is over and people just need prayer, I'm up there and I'm like, and I mean, even this morning thinking, nobody's going to come up here and pray with you. I mean, look what you've done. I mean, it is an everyday. And here's the answer. The answer is I could waller in that every time it's spoken over me, because the enemy's relentless. Is that the word? Mm-hmm. He's relentless. He doesn't quit. It's not like he goes, they have a podcast now. They're beyond me. I mean, he's still, because what does he want to do? He wants to destroy this. He wants to destroy any hope that we're giving people in Jesus. And so it's not like he's ever going to quit, and he's not creative. He comes after me with the same thing over and over and over and over again. And so what I know that I have to do is when that hits, I know how to battle it. And I battle it with who I am in Christ. Like, who am I? I'm exactly what our t-shirt says. I'm redeemed. I am redeemed because of who he is, and not because anything I've said or done. I'm redeemed. I'm forgiven because of who he is. And then knowing that it's not for me, it's for his glory and his good, and trying to step in that. And so the question actually said, how do you feel? How do you get away from feeling like there's an A spray painted on your chest? And for those of you who don't know that reference, it's for Scarlet Letter, the book, where she has to, like, they literally put an A on her chest, like with yarn. They knit an A on her clothes, and she has to wear it around town. And
for adultery,
the A for adultery. And I want to replace that with an F for forgiven, because that is when people see me, I hope they see she's forgiven because of what Jesus did, and not the A. And guys, I mean, it's 15 years later. We're coming up on almost 15 years after my confession, and I still battle it. Don't let that make you sad or depressed or, gosh, if she's still battling it, what hope do I have? But it's a constant reminder of who he is. And I thank God for that, because it keeps me tethered to him, because I don't ever want to get to the spot where I think I can do it on my own. Because if I think I can do it on my own, then I don't have a need for him. Mm-hmm. And so it keeps me tethered to him. So I don't look at it as oh, bless her heart, 15 years later, she still battles that. No, it's what gets me up and battling every day. I don't want to be complacent. I don't want to go, oh yeah, I'm forgiven. I don't want to ever lose the wonder. I don't want to ever lose the awe of what he did for me on the cross. And if I lose that, if I lose sight of the amazement of that, then I can get into I'm battling shame and guilt. And so that is the number one thing that I do. It's 2 Corinthians 10, 3-5, when Scripture tells us to take your thought captive and make it obedient to Christ. So when that shame, when that guilt, when that just being unsure of who you are and you think somebody's looking at you weird, it is reminding yourself who you are in Him and whose you are. And I am a daughter of the Most High King. And so I don't want to waller in shame. I don't ever want to waller in guilt. I want to take that thought captive. I want to make it obedient to Him and then point it towards Him and say, God, thank you for giving me this to keep me tied to you, and don't ever let me get away from you.
When you were talking just about how now, because of what you've been through, it keeps you tethered, it keeps you tied to Him, and I'm the same way, because the guilt and shame. I don't battle with the guilt and shame, but I still battle with I wasn't good enough. And like people that have been through a betrayal like us, you're like, oh, I get it. I mean, I can understand that. People that haven't been through this, you have no idea what it feels like to think my spouse chose someone else over me. And so even that is the thing that keeps me in a lot of ways tethered. But not just that, it's I was thinking about when you were just describing how we have to wake up every day and we battle. Well, 15 years ago, so the first 15 years of our marriage, we had a good marriage. I mean, we've talked about this. We had a good marriage. We went to church. Our kids took our kids to church with us. We served in ministry. We served as lay people, but also professional ministry, and we did that for a number of years, and I've done it for my entire career. And so, but if you look back on that, we were very inconsistent with our own spiritual journey. We were not, actively seeking out other sermons and preachers and even books and stuff. I mean, it was very sporadic. And look where our marriage was after 15 years. Well, here we are today, and obviously there was this healing time, and people could look at us and go, well, no wonder you started looking for ways because you had to fix what was broken. Yes, we did. You were fixing yourself. We were also at the same time fixing our marriage and creating a new marriage. And so there was a period of time where we were just incredibly invested in learning and growing. Well, 15 years later, and I mean, I think we would both say our marriage has never been better than it is right now. Genuinely, never been better. And so it sort of feels like people would even look at us and go, okay, they've arrived, I mean, we could even, I guess, say that. We go like, man, we could put it on cruise control at this point because this is as good as it's ever been. But I don't know if people pick up on the fact that every time we talk on here, we're referencing other people. We're referencing books that we've read. We're referencing sermons. We mention pastors that we love to listen to. That's not an accident, and it's not because we got to have content to share with people.
Right.
We got plenty of content. We can sit here and talk about, you guys know, we can sit here and talk about marriage forever. But we do that because that's what grows us.
Right.
And so if you're out there and you're listening and you're like, how do they do it? What do they do? Well, it's because literally every day we are finding ways to keep ourselves tied to and tethered to Jesus, because if we don't, then we're going to drown in unworthiness and shame and guilt. And so it reminds us of who He is and what He's done for us. And then that's the thing that keeps us actively growing. So for those of you that are like, what's the magic pill? Well,
that's it.
I mean, it's not a magic pill. It's just we never stop trying to learn and grow and work on our marriage. So if you're somebody and you're like, well, I don't ever listen to anything. I mean, just this week, yesterday, I was cutting the grass, and the whole time I was cutting the grass, this is not tooting anybody's horn. This is, if we don't do this, we're in trouble.
Right. That's right.
And so yesterday, I literally listened the whole time I was cutting the grass. It was a sermon series about marriage. And never once was I thinking to myself, ooh, we got to get on the podcast so I can talk to our listeners about this. It was for me.
Sure.
It was like, how do I love Heather best? What do I do? How do I do these things? What do I learn from all these other people that are so much more knowledgeable than us? Those are the things that I need to incorporate in my life every day, all day. And so we are, you go for your walks and you got a sermon on. And, we're driving around and there's worship music playing, or there's a sermon, or there's a podcast. We're reading books. And, I mean, heck, people we're doing coaching for, they'll recommend books to us.
Yeah.
But even in church this morning, the pastor that was preaching, it wasn't our normal pastor, but he mentioned a book and you wrote it down. And while we were sitting there in church, I pulled it up.
Amazon cart.
And, we got it on our Kindle. So I don't know. I'm just saying that, people go, how do you get rid of the A, or how do you even handle that with the shame and guilt? I mean, it just doesn't go away, but it's the thing that reminds us. You said replace the A with the F for forgiveness, which I love, and I've heard somebody say that before. But I would even say that those T-shirts that we have, that's what we're doing, is we're replacing it with redeemed. And when we wake up in the morning, we just both say, we're redeemed today. And so what do we do today to help us be better than we were yesterday?
Right.
And so, I mean, your message hits home to more people than mine ever will. Because people can relate to you, whether they've gone through infidelity or not. They can relate to, gosh, I'm just a big screw up too. And me too. I mean, I can relate to you. And so, I mean, I listen to you just as much as everybody else. I love when you preach to me. So, all right. Well, we got all kinds of topics in on that one.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. We were planning for one thing.
The topic will be all over the place.
That's right. Yes. So we'll see what I can come up with for a title for this one. All right, you guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.